evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Sarah Bliss, and I'm the founder of Saving Grace Teaching. It's a consulting company that offers life coaching and business coaching, as well as classes like this. I want to recognize each of you for taking time out of your busy schedule this evening to come to something like this as personal development and growth that I think will not only benefit your business life, but it'll also really impact your personal life. It's one of my favorite classes to teach for a lot of different reasons. When I was a baby realtor, back in 1998, I attended my first real estate conference in San Francisco. It was for Star Power Systems, and I remember sitting in the classroom and watching these two guys stand up there and deliver the information I'm about to deliver to you, and just being absolutely wowed by what I learned. I thought, gosh, if I would have learned this when I was a kid, it could change my whole life. I could dealt with people in such different ways, and I thought that it was such a powerful tool that I went on to not only teach it, but I haven't mastered it. You never really master it, but I can be good at it. So I'm really excited to teach the class to you. I was also starstruck by these two guys because I thought, wow, one of these days I want to stand up there and do what they're doing, because that's really cool. It's really cool to think about being able to impact someone's life and be able to change it for the better. So I'm honored to be here and share this information with you this evening. I like an interactive class, so there'll be things that we'll do together. We're going to play a game later on in the segment. I also want to encourage you to ask questions. Questions are really important. I personally think that if you wait to the end to ask a question, it's going to lose its importance to you at that moment. So raise your hand, whistle, do whatever, grab my attention, ask your question, because I want you to ask it so you don't forget later. I will provide time at the end for question and answers, additional questions and answers. But I also, if you're shy and you don't want to ask a question during the class, see me afterwards. I don't want to put anyone on the spot and make you feel uncomfortable that you have to ask a question right now, okay? How many people in here have been tested for the DISC personality profile? Okay, a couple of you. Would any of you care to share what your results were?
I came out a high D.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael. Suzanne?
I came out a high I.
Okay, very good. Very good. Josh, do you care to share?
I came up a high D with a C following.
Okay, very good. Very good. C following, I like that. I personally am an ID or a DI, depending on where I am and what I'm doing for the day. All right, so that's great. I'm glad some of you are familiar with it. And the rest of you, if you'd like to take the test, I do have tests with me. I'll be happy to give you the test and share the results with you and grade that and go over it. You have handouts. In your handouts, I will talk about everything that's in your handouts. I cannot guarantee I'm going to go over it in the exact order that it is in your handouts. I still encourage you guys to take notes, even though everything is in there that I'm going to talk about this evening. Okay, is there any questions before we get started? All right, great. Oh, Suzanne,
I have
yes.
a question. Since I have taken this before, then does your personality change? I mean, was it more geared towards the way I was at the time I did that, or will it change?
Suzanne, that's an excellent question. A lot of people ask that. Throughout your life, we have all four of them in us at some point in our lives. You leak who you are. I like that saying that you wear your heart on your sleeve. It's sort of how the system works, because you do leak who you are. I think that when I first took the test, I was really high D, but I was also 20 years old when I first took it. So over the course of time, I've learned to be more C personality. I've become a little bit more I as I get more comfortable in my own personality, my own skin, if you will. I think so. It does change. I think the core values of who you are stay, but I do think it does change, and it changes where you're at in life, what your job is. Do you have children now? Are you married? Are you divorced? Have you moved to another place? So it can change. So I definitely think so. And thanks for asking. It's a great question. Anybody else before we get going? All right, very good. Let's move on. Okay, so I talked about what was in your handouts. What we're going to cover this evening is going to be the basics of the four personality styles, the DISC. Okay, we're going to also talk about some verbal, vocal, and visual traits that you guys, as salespeople, can pick up on pretty easily. I think that for me personally, this was one of the best tools that I learned early on in my career. I was literally barely licensed, went to this real estate conference, learned this tool, and it was amazing because it really changed and shaped the way that I did my business. And I think I can tell you about every sale in 12 years I've ever lost, it was because it was a C personality, and I was being a high I, and I failed to pick up on the clues that they were giving me. Because people will tell you who they are. They will. They have an innate desire to share with you what their personality style is. So just remember that. There are vocal, visual, and verbal things that people do, from a handshake to a look in the eye, to the type of vehicle that they drive. There are things that you can pick up on. So it's really important to kind of, as we go, I'll anchor some of those things for you so that as you go on and you leave here tonight, you can look and say, okay, maybe they're an I personality. Or I like to play with my friends and family. They don't like it so much, but I do like to play with them and say, wow, okay, you're being a C personality right now. I mean, I realized years later that my ex-husband was a huge C personality. He would spend literally, you guys, hours looking for a penny in the checkbook. Me personally, I don't have time to do that because there's too much stuff to go have fun doing, okay? But for him, that was a sense of control in his life that he needed to know where that penny was at. He felt like everything was out of balance if he didn't have it. Had I known what I know today, being married to him, it would have changed the way our relationship was. I wouldn't have freaked out and said, you're wasting time, what are you doing, we need to go, let's do something else. I could have honored the place that he was at and maybe helped him find the penny, or figured out a way to communicate with him so it didn't bother me so much. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. And I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, my spouse does that, or there's someone that I know. So you want to practice on people that you know and try to pick up on those things. And before I go any further, I do want to say, sometimes people get a little, like, they feel a little pigeonholed in a class like this because they think, well, I am a C. What's so wrong with that? I have all of my utility bills and plastic slips for the last 10 years. That's important to me, okay? And that is, it's great. Don't look in my closet because things might fall out on you. So everybody's different, and everybody has great natural gifts and abilities. And whether you're a C or a D, you have great natural gifts and abilities. And I don't want anyone to feel like just because you are or you're not one of these personality styles that it doesn't mean you can't go on to be an excellent, whatever it is that you want to do. In sales, we tend to be a lot of I, because we want to get out there and we want to sell things, we want to be places, meeting people, doing things, and making the world happen, right? Well, if you're a C, you can still do that. It's just you have to go about it in a little different approach, and we'll talk about that more as we go. And the last thing we're going to cover tonight is adjusting to different personality styles. Again, the sales thing I like to say is we're chameleons, right? I mean, we have to be. If I'm talking to somebody and I'm coming to Suzanne's house and I'm all over the place, I might put her out because she doesn't want that interaction with me. So learning those things of how I can adjust. If I can quickly pick up and I know that Glenn's a C or he's an S, I can figure out how I'm going to adjust and change my approach. And that's knowing what your identity is versus your role, okay? My role at work right now, I help manage our team, and I've worked for Nate for 12 years at RE/MAX Professionals. And right now I help manage our team. I also do some stuff within the contract part of our company. So, I've taught over the years, I've taught realtors, I put together a 7-week program that taught real estate agents from the ground up how to be successful agents like our team. And, I've had to learn over the years to tone my eye down a little bit and become more C personality because my job required me to be more organized. So as you go and change, you can learn to adapt from what your role is and your identity. If you go on a listing appointment, you're no longer Suzanne the I personality. You're Suzanne the chameleon, and what does Sarah need in order for me to get this listing appointment? Does that make sense to y'all? Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions?
Can you,
Yeah,
can
yes,
you
Glenn.
change from, in a meeting or during an interview, can you change? Like a chameleon, all of a sudden, you might, like in my case, I'm looking at I and S, and probably more S. Could I go all of a sudden change to C or D and go to a meeting or something, an interview?
Okay, Glenn, so what you're saying is if I'm sitting down with you talking to you about selling your house and you all of a sudden can flip your personality style, so then I'd be confused? Is that what you're
Well, I'm
saying?
confused.
Okay,
I'm thinking,
okay.
because I'm looking at here, being a Gemini that I am, I'm on this side, this side, this side.
Personalities, yes.
Well, yeah, that's what's confusing, and I'm looking at I and S and thinking, oh boy, which one is more dominant, maybe the other one. What I'm saying is, could you start out a meeting being like an S, and by the end of the meeting, be not you, the realtor, the person that you're talking to, all of a sudden become an I?
Glenn, that's a great question. That's something, nobody's asked me that actually in any classes I've taught. I think you could, yeah, why not? If there's things that I'm engaging and I might be probing as the realtor or even as the car salesman, I might be probing and asking or pushing, and all of a sudden, we've all been in the car dealership where we're going, I need to get out of this box, and all of a sudden you become a D personality because last thing you want to do is sign paperwork even though you're an S and you're thinking, how can I gently get out of this? And all of a sudden you do flip because it becomes sort of a fight or flight thing where you need to change. So in the same thing, if I'm being very influential with you, we might end up going and having fun and